right, welcome to Eugene, Oregon. Chris Chavez, Karen Lesowitz, and Eric Jenkins here to bring you a recap of day one of the 2024 U.S. Olympic Trials. Coming to you from the CITIUS MAG Scoop, presented by New Balance, here on the corner of 19th and Agate. And we are vibing right now.
Are you gonna say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, I need to pull that up.
Yeah, come on.
Give me a sec while I pull that one up.
Yes, protocol.
First off, before I get to this, legally approved copy that I have to read before every episode.
Thought I had it.
Let me just pull it up.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing we should do is like every night a different person reads it.
Oh,
so tonight,
Chris, it seems like you're stalling because you don't have it up, and now I have to get it. Okay.
All right. So to lead things off, New Balance celebrates runners of all levels and styles. They believe that there's no single right way to run.
Agreed.
Just your way. If you run, no matter the distance, no matter the pace or the frequency, you are a runner. 100%. New Balance, 100%. Run your way. All right. What do you rate that out of a 1 to 10 on how did I do?
7.5.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to compare to this morning's delivery. I mean, that was like you just rattled it.
People were moved to tears this morning.
All right, let's kick things off with the 10,000 meters that we just saw moments ago. We have our first three members of the U.S. Olympic track and field team on the track. I count the marathoners, but on the track, the first final of the day. The men's 10,000. Grant Fisher for the win, 27:49, closing the last 1K in 3 minutes. Last lap was...
I think it was the last...
58.
Last
1,200, yeah.
Last 1,200,
Well, I heard 1K, and I was like, I could do that. No.
Woody Kincaid second, 27:50.74. And at third spot goes to Nico Young, 27:52.40, holding off a really strong challenge from Drew Hunter.
Who would have thought?
Mitch would have thought. If people tune into Good Morning Track and Field, Mitch was banging the Drew Hunter drum this morning, and it almost happened. A lot would have had to happen with the rankings, but we ended up with like a very simple 1, 2, 3 finish, and these are the three guys that are going to Paris. Eric, what were your thoughts?
It was a really entertaining race. Connor Mance out there doing a lot of the work. I'm a bit surprised that I thought Grant would have taken it a little bit earlier, but I mean, he made a move at about a K to go, and he made the move, and then that next 100 meters, it was done. Yeah. Unbelievable performance by Drew. He almost got third. I mean, Nico Young had to really dig deep to get that amazing performance. Really fun race. I mean, the favorites got it. But still, overall, a great race. You saw Paul Chelimo have some of the craziest race tactics, classic Chelimo stuff. Back to front multiple times. Only guy I think to get water. Yeah. Multiple times too.
Wow.
So it was a great race and fun to watch.
When you say classic Paul Chelimo, explain it to the people. You've been in the
when I think he was out in 157, and then I think he was yelling at Lopez Lamong and Woody to help out with the pace.
Wow.
And they said, no, you'd rather not. You're doing your own thing, we'll just sit. Because he looked good, and it wasn't fast. So with the lap to go, or he kind of fell off a little bit earlier, but with a mile to go, you're like, man, it's hard to really see. Andrew Cawley is in there running really well. I think he was kind of the guy that pushed it with a mile to go, 5 laps to go, and kind of broke a lot with the field recruiting team. Running, I think it put out 63. Chelimo's just got kind of strange tactics that I think definitely bodes to his advantage a lot of the time, but just today not so much.
Karen, what were you like as a fan watching in the stands?
Oh man, I mean it's so interesting. Truly being a fan in the stands as opposed to watching on TV, you just see different things. And I saw Woody Kincaid consistently stay up there. I mean, to me, I think throughout the race, my top 3
and didn't look back. I think we're seeing an incredible Grant Fisher. I'm so excited to see what he does in Paris. I truly think, we're sending the best 3 guys that are going to compete for medals, and I can't wait to tune in.
I will admit, in the last 800 meters, I had my little moments of doubt with Nico Young. Like, you could tell, like, how much pain was on his face.
Oh, he wears it on his face.
He really does.
Yeah.
And
He wears it early, too.
Yeah.
Which
You
is
remember
awesome.
Maxim Korolev from Harvard?
How could I forget?
That guy
Yeah.
always looked like he was in crazy pain. And so we just have those guys who, similarly, both him and Drew Hunter look like they were dying, but that's what it is. This is the U.S. Olympic trials. You have to give it your all. And these guys emptied the tank entirely. It just so happens that, Nico Young has the standard, finishes third. He'll be going it. But, I mean, big ups to Drew Hunter. You kind of are just left wondering, like, what if he would have gotten into the fast heat of the 10,000 at the Sound Running 10? Like, could he have checked the box there? This is only the beginning, I think, with Drew and the 10K. I think he's finally found his event.
I mean, if you're Drew, you walk away from this, in fantastic spirits. I mean, he was a huge underdog to place as high as he has. And so you can't be disappointed with how you just finished if you're him.
Yeah. So I think afterwards, too, in the mix zone, I got a text from Mitch. I think Drew said that there's a second baby on the way. So, like, very nice sort of, like, pregnancy announcement that just happened in the mix zone.
I think it sounds like you might be announcing it.
To the world,
Yeah.
to YouTube, potentially. But we'll clip that part of the interview and push it. But, huge. But, lots to look forward to if you're Drew Hunter.
Yeah, I wonder what he's more, I guess, like, excited about. Like, another child or the 4th place finish of the trials.
Right, it's a tough call.
It's a toss-up.
I will say at the end, how could you not? He looked devastated. He crossed the line, and I kind of think he kind of crumbled a little bit. One of those things that I think, obviously different races have different tactics, but this 10K, it came down to the wire where you were rooting for different people, and I think everyone probably in that top 5 or 6 thought they had contention, to at least get top 3, and they were dealing with it in real time. So I think what we saw from him was just a real-time reaction, and hopefully diaper duty will just turn that around.
I really liked how many guys, like, just stuck their noses in it, knowing entirely that their Olympic odds were very low, not having the standard, not even having, like, a close enough world ranking, that, I talked to Connor Mance right afterward, just briefly as I was, like, leaving the stadium, and I was like, hey, pretty good workout for Paris. He was like, yeah. He was like, and I said to him, where'd you end up finishing? He goes, like, 6th. And I was like, you got some prize money. He goes, yeah, I think prize money goes to top 8, so made some money. Not bad. That's why I stayed in it.
It was a great race to watch because there was kind of a group of, like, 4 that broke away, and then it's kind of like an accord. They ended up catching back up, backed up for a bit. Other people hit the front. It wasn't just like 3 people broke away and stayed like that on the whole race, or a sit and kick. It was kind of, you got like the best of both worlds.
You almost nailed it with the prediction Grant would take it with a mile to go. What did he end up taking it at?
I mean, I didn't quite. Yeah, he took it with like a K to go.
Yeah.
It was funny. Actually, there was a guy that me and Mac ran into, and he was talking about the race, and Mac asked him like, what do you think they'll run for the last mile? And the guy said 4:15, and Mac was like, 4:15? Are you an idiot? These guys are going to run like 3:55 for the last mile. And then I think the guy might have nailed it. They might have ran like 4:14 high.
Yeah, we'll get him on the show.
We'll get him on.
Yeah, he's replacing us tomorrow.
He's
He
our
knows.
new analyst. Grant Fisher coming into this one, obviously like the heavy favorite, makes it through, qualifies for the Olympics, but now what awaits him in Paris, we've got some motorcycles, like it is...
The Grant Fisher escort, I think they're taking him.
It is nice and loud here in the Times Square of Eugene, Oregon, Agate Street. So Grant Fisher, the Ethiopian trials happened like last week, and it was Yomif Kajelcha runs, what was it, 26, like 35? I'll look it up in a second, but he's got his hands full with these Ethiopians, but he's been up there in the past at the last couple the 2022 World Championships, Tokyo Olympics. What do you think it's going to take for Grant to break through against those Ethiopians, Cheptegei, come the Olympics?
I mean, you never know how like the race is going to play out in Paris. Obviously, you say like, guys are ranked 26-35. That's unbelievably fit. But Grant's run 26. What's he run? 26:40.
Yeah.
I mean, he's run those times, so it's not like he's gonna see that and get super intimidated by it. He's on a, he's on the level where he's now expecting medals, wanting medals. If he's not in the hunt for these medals, it's gonna be a disappointing race. It's not just he's not one of these guys now that's wanting to go and get a top 5 or something. He wants to go and pick up some hardware. And he's one thing that like we've been talking about with Grant is he's very composed. He's all like he's unrattleable in these races. He sticks with his game plan. When he makes a move, it's always decisive. And if he can keep that same level of poise in the World Champs in the Olympics in a few months, like you certainly could see him coming away with a top 3.
Yeah, so Kejelcha, I found it, ran 26:31. That was a PR by 18 seconds. He's 26.
Oh, wow.
Like, you always forget just, like, how young and dangerous he is. But I do think, like, we still got to make the team in the 5K. Best medal chances come in the 10K, right? You agree?
That's a good question. Yeah, I wonder that's a good question.
Jakob,
True.
Cheptegei,
Yeah.
Barrega, like, those guys are all going to be in the 5K as well. So, yeah, we haven't seen, I guess, Grant go all out since what, end of 2022?
Well, what is his best finish at a World Champs? Was it 5th when he came in the 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess on paper you would probably lean towards the 10. It's Grant's also like he's a strength guy. On like if you were to put him like head to head like in a, like Woody Kincaid has a fantastic close, probably like a better classic like kick, but it doesn't matter if Grant's stronger.
Is it time you put Woody in those conversations, like the same conversations as Grant?
Well, I was going to say, what did we see today? I don't know. I thought Grant was running away with it, but I mean, I don't know what the time was the difference. It was closer.
Oh, actually, yeah.
It was
Final
within
lap,
a second.
I'm just looking at it now. Woody Kincaid closed that final lap in 55.7.
He closed hard. I saw him coming down the home stretch, and I was like almost getting nervous for Grant. Like, Grant is composed, and he has the poise, and I think he has the strength. But, yeah, I do think, for me, it's like I see him more in the 10K because you're going to be less affected maybe by the Woody Kincaids who can have that speed over you, you know, when the time comes down to it.
All right, so that was the men's 10,000 meters. I mean, is there anything? I guess the only other thing that stood out to me from this one is Sam Chalenga going to the front.
Sammy.
What number trials was this for him?
Yeah, we were talking about that like Chalenga was in the Chris Zielinski 26:59 race or whatever. Like
in 2010.
In 2010, he got the collegiate record then. He ran like 27:08. No one was running that fast.
And here he is, 14 years later.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Quincy Wilson was 2 years old when
oh God,
Sam
you can't
Chalenga
do that.
ran.
Yeah.
That is the crazy way to put it. We'll talk more about Quincy in a bit, but that was the men's 10,000 meters. We have a really strong team. No major surprise. I think this is the team about 80% of people would have picked coming into this one.
I mean, when you've got the guys they're just so fit on paper. Woody was a bit of a question mark to me, not because of his talent or how good he is, but just he hasn't raced since March. So you weren't necessarily sure like what his fitness was, but I mean, clearly showed up, ready to go. Excited to see him in the 5K. Yeah, it's the favorites showed up and kind of handled business today.
All right, let's move on over. Let's go in chronological order. I know people in the chat want us to talk 1,500 meter first round, but let's go chronologically, and we have to keep you guys engaged somehow here. So first round of the women's 800. Honestly, no major surprises. Top 6 in each heat, then the next 3 fastest to the semis. All the usual suspects made it. Michaela Rose, for some reason, wanted to break 2 minutes. Fastest time of the day, 1:59. You got Ajay Wilson, Addie Wiley, Rachel Gearing, Nia Aikens, Sage Herta-Klecker, Sophia Guerrerion, Allie Wilson. Like, everyone made it through. The big one that everyone had their eyes on, Athing Mo, just took care of business, runs 2:01.
And looked comfortable. I mean, I think everyone sighed just like a relief of, okay, Athing's back. She's ready to be in contention, and I just think she looks so relaxed. I mean, she crossed the line, and there was a smile on her face. So I think she's back. She's dangerous. She's ready to go.
I have no hesitation in picking her for the team right now.
Especially with the way that these first rounds were set up, where it's top 6. If you're a thing, like, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Top 7. Okay. So it really is. Is that true?
No,
Was it?
top 6.
Top 6.
Top 6.
Like,
Misinformation Mac over there.
Yeah, wait, hold on.
So it really, I was like, wow. So really, it was just in those cases, it's just don't come in bottom 2, and you're got a big queue, which is pretty crazy. But a thing, it looks great. I mean, she looks great every time she's out there. There's not a whole lot of doubt whenever she gets on the track. It's all like the lead up before when you haven't seen her in months and you're kind of wondering what's going on. But as soon as she steps out and the gun goes off, all those doubts are kind of closed off. Raven Rogers looked great.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of had a bit of a, not the season. I think she just ran, some pretty slow times for her. But she looked incredibly comfortable out there running 2:01. Looks like she's for sure in the hunt to make it. She always shows up to run well at Hayward Field.
Well, you have to when you're on the tower.
You're
Right.
She's on the damn tower. you gotta make it to the final and put yourself in the hunt. And she's looking like she can.
I think it's downstairs.
Someone that I don't think we mentioned too much is Kitty Grace.
Yeah.
And I thought she looked great. I think I was surprised.
Trying to take the screen off the table, or are they using it?
To me,
They're using it.
Relatively relaxed. So I see across the line. I was looking, who's still standing? Who's not hunched over? Who's on, trying to gasp for air? And to me, she also she looked pretty.
Well, she was also through probably the smartest, because when you're talking when it is top 6 and you want to conserve as much as she did, because she did such a good job just conserving.
Is that Kit? Who are you talking about?
Yeah, I think I don't know
Mac
what
knew
she
who we were
was.
talking about before
Yeah.
we even knew.
Well, Mac is like, he wants the people conserving energy. He's out there calling people idiots for running hard and you don't need to. And I mean, you're 100% right.
Big battery guy.
No, I would just say I think you can hear me here, but no, Kate Grace looked like she was the seasoned vet out there. She was racing for the rounds, and I think she was really calculated out there and was like, oh, top 6 go. Why would I have to run any harder than I need to? You look at some of the younger runners with a little bit of less experience, running really hard. What?
I think we're having mic issues on our side.
No, you're not. You're looking at chat from like 10 minutes ago. We were having mic issues. Maybe we're not.
I don't know.
It was me.
All right, say what you were going to say
Sorry,
all over
chat.
again.
Hi, everybody. It's my fault.
It's
When
day
audio and
one.
video is
We'll
wrong,
get the
it's
hang of
my
this
fault.
by day 3, probably.
We got day 1 issues. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
But no, Kate Grace looked like she was the seasoned vet out there, racing for the rounds. And I think you could tell that some of the less experienced runners were running a little bit too hard out there.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll show in the next round in the semis, but I think that that's going to show in the last 150 meters when you get to the final, when it's who has that extra little oomph. And I think that comes from not running all out. Like you can run to 92% and be okay. When you get into that like last couple percent, you fry your nervous system, and then you're cooked for the final when you really have to give it your all.
Well, what do we think then about Michaela Rose? Because I would say she's someone who does fit that bill a little bit. She's a little more inexperienced. And I mean, she took it. She took off, got caught slightly at the end, but I also think she thought she had it in a bag. So maybe she backed off. Do we think she burned, she burned herself a little bit leading into semis?
So, last year, honestly,
A little. I mean, like, is she out of it? No. Did she use a little more energy than she probably should have? For sure.
yeah. And also, just like now, we've gotten the instance at the NCAA championships multiple times where this strategy has not paid off for her. So why does she keep doing it?
She's excited. It's fun to go out there and run hard.
Yeah, we're talking about her. This is maybe what she wants.
Yeah. All right. So it's a statement possibly that you're throwing out there, but
Can I just give a prediction for the final?
Yes.
yeah.
I think that Michaela Rose is going to lead the first 300 meters of the final really quickly, and then Athingmo is going to take over from 300 and lead into the bell lap, and then I think it's going to get really interesting from 400 to go to 200 to go, because I think that's when Nia Atkins, you guys, sorry, we have audio issues here, so it's my fault. Did you guys talk about Nia Atkins before
We
you move
were.
on?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We were all gassing her
The
up.
whole thing?
I'm running around the whole time. I'm sorry. No, I think it's going to get really interesting between Athingmo and Nia Atkins with like 200 to 150 to go. I think there's going to be a little bit of side-to-side, shoulder-to-shoulder action there.
All right, so one more from the first round of the 800 I just want to highlight is that I want to give props to Christy Schofield. And, like, you might be wondering, like, oh, why? Because she was in the final heat. Obviously, it was a little slower than it was the slowest one of the bunch that got a qualifier. Christy ends up making the final or the semifinal by 0.01 of a second. The lean at the finish line actually was very impressive, and she's got her Olympic dreams still alive. So that's what it's all about. Even if it's you advance by 10 seconds or 0.01 seconds, you still got a shot. So
Shout out Chrissy Schofield.
shout out Chrissy Schofield. All right, next up, we're running through the distance ones, and we'll bring on Caitlin for some of the sprint ones. Men's steeplechase, another one here where it's just sort of like top 5 in each heat. And I guess it's semifinals and then the finals.
Right.
But
These races were boring. These races were boring. They were boring. I'm sorry. They weren't interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Eric, did you feel any differently about that?
I'm like, is Hillary Bohr listening? Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like everything happened like exactly as you would think it would. Great to see Evan Jaeger up at the front of a race. It's kind of
it's 2012.
I like listening to when they do the introductions and you hear who's getting the loudest applauses, which is all that really. It's like, who do people like?
Yeah.
It's like, who cares what they do? Are you liked? People love
High school
Jaeger.
never ends, right? It's just that.
It's just all, yeah. They should actually do the race on popularity contest. He would be a freaking dominator.
Top 2 go to the Olympics, and third is a popularity contest.
That's,
Right, like we really want him to go. You know,
It's a fan vote.
It's a fan favorite.
Isn't that how the other countries do it?
Isn't that how Athletics Kenya
Yeah.
kinda does
Athletics
it?
Kenya. Yeah.
All the countries besides us decide that is how it should be done.
All right, so Jaeger was in the mix.
Jaeger's in the mix. Hillary Bohr. I think it's going to be tough. All the 2 Army guys in the second heat, Rotich, looked very good. Kenneth Rooks looked really good. So it's going to be tough. I mean, it would take a lot for Jaeger to make that team, but you can never say never.
So there's only 2 guys at the Olympic standard, and that's Hillary Bohr and Kenneth Rooks. I think that in the final, we probably have one more guy run the Olympics. It's going to be fast.
I was going to say,
enough.
like, the steeple's like the one distance race where the final often usually ends up being fast enough where someone can get a standard out of that. So, it wouldn't surprise me to see someone come away with that standard.
Hillary Bohr, very interestingly enough, when I had a conversation with him a couple months back, he was almost like, I'm going to move to the roads. Like, I'm not even going to do the steeplechase this year because he broke his foot last year. Now, a very little interesting caveat that I picked up today just in the mix zone was that he's totally changed how he steeples, where this late into his career, now he's jumping off the other leg on right before the water barrier. So it's like,
Why wasn't he
like
doing that the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, and my question is, okay, great. Maybe that benefits him. Is that for injury prevention? Is that down the
I think
road?
it's
Is that for
because of the
power?
it's the last injury. Like the broken foot last year, just like is so painful. Like you can't do it because it takes that much power to like propel himself over the water barrier or the water pit. And he's just had to entirely change his form. And so it's working, and it's worked enough to get him the Olympic standard. So I think like Rooks and him will be in for a very good showdown come the final. And that third spot is wide open. Matthew Wilkinson, we got to talk about the guy who like ran the fastest time of this round. Former Division III guy, ends up going to Minnesota for a little bit. and he's having a breakout year. Like 8:20 today. He's definitely, I think, in contention to make this team.
Let it start.
Yeah.
He let it, gun to tape. It seemed, fantastic, right? You couldn't ask for more out of him.
And just off the Olympic standard. So he's run 8:16 so far this season.
And it's rare that he was first heat.
Yeah.
It's almost always second heat is faster. So he put on a hell of a day.
All right. Next up is the men's 1,500 meters.
Yeah.
Couple shockers in this one of like who made it, who ran fast, like what we made of these races. So let's go heat by heat. So heat 1, Colin Solomon, Casey Comer, Craig Engels, Liam Murphy, Cooper Tier, Matt Wisner, Josh Thompson. Like again, this is another one where it's like top 7 in each heat advance, and this was a blanket finish. And it ends up knocking out Johnny Gregoric, Gary Martin, 2 fan favorites of CITIUS MAG. And
Good guys.
Great guys. Didn't make it through. But in this one, I think Colin Solomon and Cooper Tier were the ones who impressed me the most.
Yeah, in the 15, it really was like the favorites again, kind of showing up and doing with heat 1. It was they were out in lane 6. It was wild. Such a blanket finish. I felt, heart goes out to Johnny G when in the lead in the going to the last 100, and there's just so many strong guys.
Yeah.
It's the 15 is now incredibly deep with guys who are great closers in that 15.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I was so impressed with Craig Engels. I think we're maybe seeing old Craig a little bit. I saw some moves being made out there, and I don't know if I've always seen him be able to always respond to these moves. And within that last 400, he was right there in the mix. And I think I always love the personality that goes along with it, and I think he brings that to the track. Afterwards, he was, it looked like he was like blowing kisses or something. I think that he's a fan favorite. You talk about people who want to see someone light up the track. He's someone that brings the personality, and I think there's no doubt he's in the final. But can he bring that to the last 200 of that final?
Craig's amped right now.
Yeah,
Craig's amped. He ran great, and as someone who he hasn't had the season he's probably wanted to have, and to take these races and build the confidence from races that maybe you wouldn't take a lot of confidence in the regular season, that's huge. It's all you see, we're talking about guys like Colin Solomon. Just these NCAA guys are going to be this is an NCAA race, a slow race, hard close. These guys are sharp. As long as you haven't burned the candle too much, with the regular NCAA races. So Colin Solomon looked great, and round 1 was a fun one.
I think if I can jump in here, I think how Cole and Cooper ran was a little indicative of how they're ready to run in the final. I think everyone is sort of gearing themselves to be ready for a yard pull, like 800 meters out, because yard, him and Pax don't go so well. And I think that bodes really well for Colin Solomon. He needs to be in a really clean race that's stretched out quickly, like a Hobbs Kessler. But I think Colin, today was the best race I've ever seen Colin Solomon run. I think that was the best tactically run race he's ever run in his life, and I think he's showing his growing experience here. But I think that there were definitely some takeaways from how a few of the heavy hitters ran in the prelim, because normally some of those big dogs will practice a little bit in the prelim. The semis is all racing, but some of those big guys that have a little bit of extra run in their legs, they'll definitely test out some of their own tactics and test out the fitness of some of their competitors. And I think that was pretty telling.
Going off that a bit, something I do like that you see from Cooper and Cole a bit more is that they're not afraid to run from the front. And when Cole kind of had his breakout year when he won NCAAs and then won the trials, he was leading those heats, and I think he ran 336, 337 from the front. I think they're just at the type of fitness where it's look, you can run pretty fast, not have a lot it's not going to take a lot out of you, and it's just you're staying out of trouble. When these heats are deep, and if you're going to let it get slow, you're going to let it get bunks. If you get on the rail for a bit, that might be it. So why not just run a bit harder, and it's not going to, you're incredibly fit. It's not going to take a lot out of you. It might even be like less stressful and just be better for you overall to just be in the front for a bit. And that's what they did today.
Let's move on to heat number 2, where this one was a little bit interesting. Hobbs, Kessler, Yard, Nagoose up to the front, battling it out for the win. Hobbs just barely gets ahead of him at the finish line. But again, it's sort of like he just sat and watched what Yard was doing. He ended up in the front for a bit, but what did you make of Hobbs' tactics coming into this one? Because obviously that's the big question mark with him. Even though he has a World Indoor medal, it's Hobbs' tactics is so far this outdoor season haven't been anything earth-shattering that would make people so quick to pick him for the team when there's three other guys at the standard.
I mean, you come away with the win in a heat like that, that's fantastic. I mean, there's like you're not going to get more confidence out of today than what Hobbs did. Especially it's not like necessarily he beat Yard. Nagoose Yard obviously is saving everything, but it's still nice to come away with that number 1 position. Hobbs obviously crushed it. And like we were talking, like Hobbs went right from high school to being a pro.
Yeah. You're
not gonna race like the same amount that you did in high school and that you would have if you had been an NCAA athlete. You're just not gonna do as many races and not have as many opportunities to practice tactics when you're running a pro schedule. So I think you're just gonna see the more Hobbs races, the more he's gonna be comfortable with these tactics, become comfortable with figuring out his racing style and things like that. He's obviously incredibly talented, and he's still so young. So it's just going to take more experience.
What do you think of Yared in that one?
Oh, I mean, I think that everyone was getting tired of me just shouting like, "Go Yared!" I mean, I bleed gold and green over here. Go Irish. I almost forgot the colors, by the way. That was me struggling to find the colors. It's blue and gold officially, but green is the unofficial color. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. I mean, he's to me a favorite. To me, I liken him similar to the Grant Fishers, where he's so consistent. Like you've never seen him have a bad race. His bad race is everyone else's incredible race, and it's like a small tactical error. Which rarely has. I can't wait to see him compete. I agree. Like Hobbs Kessler to me has that inexperience, and do I think he could have eased up at the line and Yard could have won? They could have gone 1-2. Yes, but I think this does wonders for Hobbs' confidence. I think he got Yard a little bit clipped at the line, and I think he is inexperienced, and that can go a long way for someone who maybe hasn't had the tactical practice that Yard's had.
No major surprises there on that one of just like anyone major getting knocked out. Heat 3, I mean, Cole Hocker with a 334 closing his last 100. He was accelerating, just pulling away from people. Afterwards, someone asked him, like, why'd you run so fast? Mac was probably losing his mind on that one.
No, Mac was big on Cole. He was just saying he's probably going to win.
I think that one was a little different.
Okay, so explain your reasoning why that.
He just likes him.
Is it just a statement?
Yeah,
I
he
just like the
likes
guy.
the guy.
No,
Yeah.
he looked very easy, and I think it's pretty telling when you can see guys that are like really stretching. When I'm talking about like when you're kind of frying your nervous system, I don't think he's anywhere close to that. And that was just a faster race from the beginning. We saw this in 2021 at trials. This is what he did every single round, and we were going, why is he doing this? He's running too fast. He's going to be fried for the final. He's doing exactly what he did in the lead up to beating Centro in that 2021 Olympic trials final. That's might be the best I've ever seen him look, and that's kind of weird to say because he's just done so well. He was sixth at the Olympics in Tokyo.
Just like less than a second off
of
the medal.
Budapest. Yeah. He's so talented, and like Eric was saying earlier, unafraid to lead from the gun and make the race something that he controls. I got really excited for the final because everyone was kind of just assuming that Yard was going to.
But we still got one more round.
We got one more round, but a lot of these big guys, the big couple of guys, I think, can test things in the first round, like I was just saying. In the semis, it's just going to be like who can qualify. Cole's really fit.
Oh yeah, you could see Cole
really fit.
like if they make it to the final, you could see Cole beating Yard.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
Well,
yes.
yeah.
No.
And this,
He loves Yard.
I love you, Yard.
Yeah.
Well, here's my question for you guys. Do you think just even the placement of people within these heats can change the game of, who you're racing, who you're getting confidence against? We didn't see, if we saw a Cole Hocker and a Yard Nagoose in the same heat, I think the psyche of that, can mess with these athletes. Obviously, they didn't get here because they had weak psyches, but you see someone like Hobbs. How important do you think the heats are to just an indication of how confident you're going to be into the final?
That's honestly a great question. Like, how does this round affect the semifinal draw of who's in what?
I don't know what the math is. It's because it's just like it's
the
on
descending
place.
order.
It's just on place per heat. I don't.
Okay.
I mean, we could draw it right now if we knew what it was, but
All the
I don't know what it is off the top of my
all
head.
the UW dogs qualified
Yes,
through.
they did. Yeah. So you got in this one, Luke Hauser, who I asked afterwards, is like, "Were you ready to run a PR in the first round?" Because he ran 3:35.24. He was like, "Yeah, I'm ready for like a fast race." I was like, "Any preference on like how the semifinal or even the final plays out?" I was like, "Nope, I'm ready for whatever." And so, kudos to him. I think Andy Powell's got him ready. Nathan Green advanced. Joe
Wascom looked
Wascom
good, yeah.
before that. Wascom head to toe. I guess he's also an Adidas NIL athlete, but waiting to see if anything.
Mr. Consistent
changes.
Sam Prackle coming in. I think he finished like second in one
he's
of his
third,
third.
yeah.
So
yeah, he looked good.
he looked
I
great.
mean, to me, we made the joke, but like, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I do think he has the chip on his shoulder. He's, not been someone who's been consistently up there that we've been counting as the top three, and I'm excited for him to make a team.
Real quick in the chat, someone said, C-Town fan. Let's shout out, members of the chat as well, just sort of if they have any questions or comments, as we like to keep this interactive. They said, probably need to run sub 3:30 at the Olympics. Yes, fair, 100%. I thought it was to make the Olympics. I don't know.
If you want a medal?
No, I mean like to make the final here is going to go sub 3:30. No.
The final here.
Yeah, no. There's only two
no.
guys who could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I thought I saw.
Who the hell said that?
Who wrote
Call
that?
him out.
The trials record is 3:34 from Central.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say I saw that it was 3:34, and I mean, is that not?
What did Hocker run today? He almost got the trials record.
3:34.54. So yeah, probably he came close. Maybe that's what he was going for.
Different era. We got new shoes. we got new things going on. But I mean, they will run faster than 3:34. I don't know if it's going to be a sub 3:30 race, but
No, no
honestly,
chance.
no, it'll be close. It'll be right there.
Okay. All right.
332 high.
It'll be faster than that.
Wow.
I
We
think
still
it'll be
got
faster
one more
than that.
round. We still got one more round.
That doesn't matter. They're still gonna run
Mac
that
was the
fast.
one in the chat who said 329.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Sent from Mac
Mac,
XOX.
One last one in the 1500s. Holt the Bolt, like glued himself to Cole Hocker, and then afterwards was just like, he was the most distraught guy after the race. I haven't watched his post-race interview yet.
I bet
but-
it's electric.
I mean, it probably is electric. You can catch it on the CITIUS MAG YouTube channel, although like the uploading process inside Hayward is a nightmare right now, so it takes us a little while. But anyway, the interviews are going up right now. Holt the Bolt was like, was he trying to send a message? Like, he's like, I don't know why he did that. I don't know why he ran so fast. I'm like, if he was, he's clearly
Sounds like
ignorant.
it sounds like you got the message.
He got the message.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Right, received.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
all right, we'll wait for the semifinals. There will be drama in that one. There will be some key athletes who don't make it because after the first round, like this really didn't cut down to all that many people.
For sure. Like the 15 is always an event where there are guys that could make the team that are not even in the final.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
it's cutthroat. It's really hard to make it through these rounds.
All right, the women's 5K, a tale of two very different races.
Oh my God. Yeah.
In one heat, you have Parker Valby running the 5K the same way that she has been doing all season, just taking it out to the front. But then at some point, Elle St. Pierre and Carissa Schweizer is like, let's show you who the pros are. Shut the door with a 250 final. I think that was a final K, right? Yeah.
It may have been. Yeah. I mean, it looked like it, and it should have been. It
And
was
then
quick.
64 for the final lap for
I think that's what I heard,
Elle
yeah.
St. Pierre.
Yeah.
And so both of them ahead of Parker. And then in the second heat, it was slower, really slow. It was won in 16 minutes by Elise Cranny.
Oh, and it went out, and I think Sam and I were calculating, was it an 87 or an 89?
Oh my
89, I was
gosh.
like, I could get out there.
If you're, Elise Cranny was toying with that field. I mean, when she's
Yeah.
run 3:57 for the 1500, like that was just exactly how this was going to go. She was going to unleash a monster kick, brings along Ellen Donahue, Rachel Smith, Caitlin Toohey, Josette Andrews. So there are some notable names moving on with the Olympic standard going into the next round. But overall, what did you think in terms of just sort of like that first heat where Elle St. Pierre is just like, all right, I'm the one to beat?
I think she made a statement.
Yeah.
I think clear as day. I think she put her money where her mouth is, and I think it's show, don't tell, And Parker Valby's been getting a lot of hype, rightly so. I mean, she did what she...
Especially on the Getting Chicked podcast.
Especially on the Getting Checked, Oh, right there. Look at her looking back.
No, the look back was crazy.
Yeah, I think...
She should have honestly stopped and ran backwards. It's a crazy look back.
Yeah, I think, but look at how far, she knows she has to look far back. This isn't just looking over their shoulder. She knows they're behind her, and they're pretty far back. I think her and Carissa, two of the most experienced people in this field, I think they made a statement, hey, we're not here to play. You paced us. That's what you do well. But if you want to, you want to make this team, I think Parker's going to have to go sooner. I mean, if she has it in her, I think she has to. I think we learned here she cannot leave it down to, I would say, even a final mile, personally, knowing the speed that these ladies have.
It's fun to watch Parker now, right? Because it's been every NCAA race. It's just her on her own, breaking the whole field. It's fun to watch her. I wonder what her strategy is going to be going into that final, because you got like today. Doesn't like if she does the exact same thing she did today in the final.
It doesn't drop them.
It's just not enough, and so it's so hard to do all that leading. You have the best women in the country just sitting on you, and then be able to gather up a final kick against competitors like Elle St. like Carissa. It's too much. So it's gonna be exciting to see what her tactics are.
So now, temperature check before the women's 5K final. Parker's odds to make the team higher or lower than when you came into the trials? In the 5K.
In the
After today.
After today.
I had her today, like this morning on the morning show. I said she's gonna make the team. I was like pretty damn sure she would. So I guess lower from that, because I was like, very high.
Yeah. If I know one thing, that's what you said.
Yeah. I can she still make the team? Absolutely. Is it a bit lower than what I had her like coming in? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say it's out. I think Ellie, Carissa, Elise, they're so dominant. And there were question marks, right? Because I would say Elise and Carissa just ran a 10K, a week or two ago. And, they did fine, but they didn't, run maybe what they're capable of doing. And I think today what we saw was what we wanted to see, that reassurance, what we got from a Thing Mo. They're here, they're championship level, if not medal contender athletes. And when push comes to shove, when it comes down to it, those three, it's money in the bank, I think. I'd bet a lot.
I've been crunching numbers for a reason, guys. Like, I have been been loud. I think Parker's best chances to make this team come in the 10K. And she's been racing a ton so far this season. You just have to take this swing. When you're the NCAA champion, when you've come within a second of the standard, like, you have to take your shot. It just so happens you're up against, like you said, just like three women who can run, 14, 30 high come the final. I don't know.
What do you think the final?
If I'm Parker, I start thinking about the 10K at this point. Well, I guess you can't let yourself get to that mentality. That's why I never competed at these trials.
Well, she made the final. You might as well run it. It's tough to. Like, if you're Parker and like you're saying, put your eggs in the 10K basket. I mean, it's tough. Like, the schedule is a bit. If you were her, you would want it to be 10K first. Like 10K first.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
100%. Like, if your best shot's in the 10, you would want the 10K to be first and not gas yourself out with 2 rounds of a really hard 5K.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's probably still smart for her to do to run the 5K.
Yeah, she can't scratch at
Yeah.
this
Well,
point.
and she's
like,
so
you gotta
young.
just do it. Yeah.
She's
does
so
she- and
young.
does she
anything
have
can
the-
happen. Someone could fall. Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Mac.
No, I'm just saying that we're coming from a place of like we're just being critical because she's so good.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
fact that
Oh,
she's
yeah.
even in this position is super special, and it's like, oh yeah, she might get 4th to 3 of the best American
Yeah.
distance women. Of
Oh
all,
yeah, this
of
is all
time.
cherry on
Like,
top of
yeah,
a
like,
fantastic
we're talking
year.
The 3 women that we're talking about being in front of her are
Yeah.
incredible,
Very
and they're
good.
very fit right now. That we see
Right.
like Carissa and Elise both coming on strong,
Yeah.
like very much so in the last few weeks, and especially like what we saw today.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think, too, we can tell a lot. Obviously, Parker, she's been running by herself. She hasn't had that competition. I always look for how a talent like Parker Valby handles getting her doors blown off by people like Elise Cranny.
'Cause it hasn't happened before.
It hasn't happened before, and she stayed composed. I will
Yeah.
say, I think that's an indication that she could be in contention. She got dusted a little bit at the end, but she didn't fall off. She stayed
Right.
there. She held it together, and I think that's a good, positive sign.
All right. There's hope if you're a Valby Mania person. Come to 5K. All right, in Heat 2, some people who haven't raced actually did make it through. Caitlin Toohey, Josette Andrews make it through after not having raced at all so far this outdoor season. Caitlin Toohey said she had like a hamstring injury, then hurt her back, and didn't actually start like doing workouts until late April, I think it was, and like that is not that long ago. But healthy enough to get through here. Realistically, the path to the Olympics is impossible, I think, like even with the top 3 finish, just because like 16:03 today or 16:09 is nothing in the world rankings, and then your final you have to, in order for Caitlin Toohey to make this team, she has to run the Olympic standard in the final. So for her, it's just let's see how, go compete, like get your confidence up. Like today was her pro debut, so just make the most of that final and take a lot of confidence from it. And then Josette Andrews, like honestly, like solid, just make it through in one piece, and you still got a chance.
Right.
So
And for Josette, I mean, that's a hard opener given
Yeah.
the tactics, right? This isn't an honest, even race. She had to go out super slow, and, that 5K fitness maybe that she's building maybe isn't there for, say, a 15 as this, like, race almost turned into kind of at the last mile. So I think if the final is a little bit more honest, I think we can't count her out.
yeah,
And Josette's got the standard.
yep.
So there's not a whole lot of women with the standard going into that final. You never know how it's going to play out.
No.
Yeah, there's some like the favorites are looking really good, but she certainly has a real chance to make that team.
Notables who did get knocked out.
Oh,
Abby Cooper,
so sad.
4th Olympic trials. She was dealing with like an Achilles thing a couple weeks back, but got the all clear to run. So really unfortunate for her. Natasha Rogers, who has not raced at all so far since the Olympic marathon trials, was in it for quite a bit of time, but then just like once they made the hard close, just had nothing to respond. So 2 major players there. Natasha Rogers, I think, still has the 10K on the table, but she's one of those people, again, I always bring it back to the world rankings, that she's up there, but today kind of exposed her a little bit. So we'll see what happens, but the final should be interesting. It's on Monday, I think it is, right?
Is it 2 days rest in between now?
I think you give those girls 2 days rest after an effort like that. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, Monday.
Great.
Final distance event for today. No, I think that was it. So
I was going to say, yeah.
I guess we'll bring on Caitlin, Karen, if you want to go.
You don't think I'm an expert in the sprints here? No.
You are an expert in the sprint. We just got to bring on Caitlin. She's been waiting patiently
Yeah.
downstairs. So
Everyone wants Caitlin
Yeah.
to talk about this.
Let's bring Caitlin, because she had a very funny interview with Quincy Wilson, and I need her to tell the story behind it. So, Karen, thank you so much. Go get yourself some ice cream. All right. Yeah, you can go. All right, so to set this up for people who are listening and watching live on YouTube, the first event on the track today was the men's 400 meters. Quincy Hall in the first heat ran 44.60. took care of business. Matthew Bowling, Judson Lincoln made it through. Second heat was the one that everyone seemed to be very excited about. When you talk about like people who had like a loud ovation, the high school kid, Quincy Wilson, got the people on their feet and threw down something special. I'll wait for Caitlin to come up so that like, you know, she can really hype it up and give it its justice. But throws down a 44.66, breaks the U.S. high school record. That is the U18 world record. And then on top of that, that's the Olympic standard. So like, you know, where we were thinking,
hell of a prelim.
yeah, where we were thinking, oh, this kid might make the relay pool. Now you're thinking this kid might make the team.
Yeah.
Just in general, just as an individual. And that's really fun for us to see just because we've been with New Balance at New Balance Nationals over the last like couple of years. And I remember my first ever interview. Come on in, Caitlin. My first ever interview with Quincy Wilson came indoors 2022. And like he was just introduced to me like by Caitlin, one of the sports marketing people from New Balance, and was like, you need to talk to this kid. Like, he's just full of energy. And I'm sure that interview is somewhere. And I think I talked to him about, like, have you ever thought about, like, LA 2028 being, like, your first big Olympic opportunity? And he, like, lights up and says, yeah, that's what I'm targeting. And fast forward, like, that timeline's accelerated. Caitlin, Quincy Wilson, 44.66. What'd you think?
Okay, I was low-key a little scared at first. Not like too scared. It's just because my teammate Kennedy was like riding up on him like the first maybe like 100 meters, and I was like, Quincy, I know Kennedy been running the 200 all season, but he looked like he's trying to come get you, so I'm gonna need you to turn something on. So I'm watching the rest of the race, and when he got to that 200, I was kind of thinking about like what my coach used to tell me. She's like, look, if you're on the outside and they come up on you on that last turn, you just got to find something and go with them. And that's exactly what Quincy did. I don't know what he found in him because they, you know, like Kennedy was passing him and then, you know, the two other guys that were on the other side of him were passing him too, but he wasn't too far behind. I think he took it as an opportunity. And he was like, hey, man, it's my time to shine. And 44.66, like I was telling him on the interview, I said, just so you know, like I was going to bat for you in them comments on Instagram, but Chris deleted the comments because I was like, they were trying to cook you, talking about, oh, he's not making it out of first round. He don't even got the Olympic standard. Well, what now, boo-boo? Who don't got the Olympic standard? Because it's not him. So,
and
yeah.
You know the funniest part about that was like, he's like, yeah, I read the comment section.
Yes, like.
I was like, kid, don't read the comment section.
Okay, but like, you know,
You were
16.
deleting comments?
I deleted a couple comments. Yeah,
because
I'll
I was
say it
on.
to the people in the chat. I delete comments sometimes. Yeah, kid's 16 years old. There's no need to cook him for his form. Clearly, the form is working.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, he's literally 16. If he want, okay, wait, y'all put me on no context for this, so don't do this. But if he wants to throw his head back and swing them arms as fast as he can, let him do that. Because obviously 44.6 is taking him somewhere.
Yeah, it's working. So Quincy, I hope you're reading all the comments section. Which, by the way, like Mac, you can speak to it because you pulled it up. We always talk about this very openly. Quincy Wilson does numbies is like the phrase we throw around because like anytime you throw him up on Instagram, like absolutely crushing it. Right now, like that post.
Quincy, 2 hours in, it's way beyond this out because I haven't. You can check it right
I'm pulling
now.
it up right now. Yeah.
It had like 12,000 shares after 2 hours, which.
All right, so
hey, here's some behind the scenes track
so
and
you
field
wanna look at
media
some
stuff.
analytics,
You want to be valuable?
Yeah.
Do this.
Be fast like Quincy Wilson. Be a charming personality and just like be in high
It's
school.
so simple. Just be in high school. Be a really charming personality. Be the fastest in history, and you'll get numbers.
If not, you're a loser.
6 hours ago, we made this post, 37,000 likes, and we're viewing the insights live right now. That post has reached 414,000 people. It has been sent to 14,000 people. There are 466 comments.
Yeah, good comments.
Show it to that camera. I guess
zoom
it
in.
Yeah.
Can you focus on that? These are no.
They're like that. They don't believe.
These are
Yeah.
the analytics right now on the Quincy Wilson post. So Quincy Wilson doing numbies. Always happy when that kid accepts the collab tag. And also, like, I forgot to check, like, how many followers he started these trials because he's another one that, like, NBC is eating up the story 100%. Like, the kid has a chance to make the Olympic team. 68.9 thousand followers. We'll see what that ends up being by the end of. But kid's a star.
Yeah.
It's just a fun story.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fun to see someone as young as him doing as well as he is. It's everyone loves watching a guy with the sky's the limit, crushing it. So everyone's rooting for him.
What do you think the pros are thinking?
I know Vernon is thinking that if he doesn't beat Quincy, he will be losing his contract very soon.
No, not a chance. New Balance would never drop Vernon. But Vernon, for like, I actually joked with Vernon. I said, like, what are you thinking for the final? New Balance 1 2? He goes, oh, you absolutely. And I was like, obviously you first, then Quincy second. And he goes, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Well, no one wants to lose. This was like it was like the same thing when you had Hobbs Kessler and Drew Hunter doing well in the high school scene. No pro wants to lose to a high school guy.
Yeah.
But when the high school guys are really good, sometimes they're just going to beat a lot of the pros, like Quincy's doing.
All right. In the other heats that took place, Johnny Blockberger won his in 45.08. Vernon Norwood won his in 45.40. Very interesting one was Heat 5. Michael Norman, 45.31. Then comes through in the mix zone, and he was going to walk by and ask him, Mike, you got a minute to chat? And he stopped. Very gracious with his time. Kind of opened up entirely about, like, got off to a great start to the season at Mount Sac and then at LA Grand Prix, 2 wins, 44 point. What was it, like 44 or 5 or something like that?
It was like a low or a mid 44. So.
Yeah. So Michael Norman looked like the Michael Norman that we all know. Only thing is, he's been pretty banged up in the last month. Been dealing it with osteopubis, like that injury that has set back the likes of like Ollie Hoare. And then on top of that, he's got like tendonitis in his adductor. So he was like, it's painful to walk every day. And it's like, that's not what you want to hear from the world champ from 2 years ago. But he made it work, advanced. But I've got my doubts now.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but it's like you don't ever want to like say that about Michael Norman, because when we talk about people who like have the possibility to actually podium or like win, Michael Norman has like been that guy for a while. So to honestly,
experience goes a long way.
Exactly, it does. But honestly, even if he doesn't end up making the team, I think that we've got like some pretty solid people who could take his place. Because I mean, when you look at the results, Quincy Hall has been on a roll for like the past 2 years. I said that Vernon was going to be the world champion last year. That did not happen. So now he has to go be the Olympic champion. And then obviously, if Quincy Wilson, I mean, truly can continue on the streak that he's doing, I don't see no reason why not he can't do something, crazy.
Team.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this. Quincy Hall's the second ranked 400-meter runner in the world. That's wild.
He's that man.
And I guess like when we had Manio Mitchell up here earlier today, he was like, the 400 has been a revolving door over the last couple years. And I think this could be the year for someone like Quincy Hall to really establish himself like, I'm the guy.
It's a really open field with the 400 right now, and the men on the women's side, honestly. So, like, anybody who's feeling scared, because I mean, I know there's some other people that are just like, well, Quincy and Vernon and all those people are ahead of me, but it's like, you literally never know what's going to happen. And I think that's what's so much fun about the 400 now. Like, you don't really have to focus on whether or not your PR is faster than the person next to you. You just have to focus on beating them. And if the time comes, it comes. But if it doesn't, then like, that's fine too. At least you know that you beat the people that you were supposed to beat.
Let's talk some women's, let's do the women's 400 around, because this one, we had a little bit of a surprise. I guess like on all the preview podcasts that we have done and just in the written previews, like there's just question marks about like Shamier Little, like what's been up with her, like had a pretty bad year, I would say, so far up until this point in the 400 hurdles, comes out here, declares for the 400 and the 400 hurdles, runs the fastest time of the first round, 50.13. Did you get the chance to talk to her afterwards?
I didn't really talk to her too much, but I just thought it was funny how like she was just like, yeah, like I'm not gonna run the 400 semis, like, and I'm just sitting here.
Wait,
like,
she's not?
Well, no, I don't think she is. I think she said that she wasn't gonna run it. I think she's running the 400 because she's bored and doesn't want to wait for the 400 hurdles.
Oh, I don't know. I think this should change things.
I don't think so. I think she's very adamant about like making the Olympic team, and she was like, yeah, girl, I'm just here. But it was so funny because when she ran it, the bottom of the screen said 400 hurdles. So when I'm watching her like cross the line, I'm like, did she just break the world record in the hurdles and like nobody's talking about it? Because I'm pretty sure that the world record is 50 point something. And then she was like, no, girl, that was not the hurdles. The thingy was just messed up. But I was like, okay then. But yeah, she's very adamant about getting her Olympic spot on the 400 meter hurdles team. And I don't think the 50.1 is going to change that too much for her, because obviously she's a very strong 400 meter hurdler. So you would expect the fast, flat 400 from her. I think she wants to use this at the time to really redeem herself, because, obviously she was left off the team back in 2021.
Eric, we'll switch you out for Anderson real quick, because he's got some other sprint insights and has talked to a couple of these. Actually, in fact,
wasn't Anderson the one that said Shamier isn't running the semis for the 4?
So Anderson is here with us now. Anderson had the chance to talk to Shamier after that race. So what's been up?
Yeah, Shamier Little, she hadn't been running so well this year, but I think she ran 58s in the 400 hurdles. She had run some 51s in the 400, but she just popped off here at 50.13. And she said that she just wasn't. It wasn't an injury. It wasn't any kind of setbacks. It was just she just wasn't feeling the groove. And her coach said, "All right, we're just gonna go back and train, just straight up train, and then we're just gonna pop up and open up here." And she didn't even want to she's not going to go through the round. She's not going to, she's scratching from the semis.
I told you that's not going to change it for her.
She literally said, I just didn't want to sit in the hotel. I just wanted to get out there and run. So
I guess go through the motions, go through the call room and all that stuff. But
yeah. I mean, after this tells me that she's in some good form
for the 400 hurdles.
Yeah.
I feel much better. We'd been leaving her off. Everyone's had been writing her off, I think, in that 400 hurdles just based off of the early season performances. But this is a good indicator, and everyone's fighting for 2 spots. Yeah. Because Sydney's got one on lock.
Yeah. I mean, Shamier trains at Arkansas, and she literally said, "When I go to practice, I'm basically running a race with they just swept NCAA, so." I think Shamier is on a good position to make the team.
Second fastest time, Aaliyah Butler, 50.44.
Interesting for her, because I don't think that she made the NCAA final a couple weeks ago. So
really?
Yeah.
Then when we do talk about the Arkansas women, Caitlin Brown made it through. Did you get a chance to talk to her?
Didn't get a chance, yeah. Okay. She walked through, just focused.
Rosie F. Young also
Coach Johnson wasn't playing that. He said, get... He came up in there. He tried to snatch Shamier. He let's go. I'm like, you know what? If you an athlete coming through the mix zone, please don't let your coach, don't let us make your coaches get on you.
I'm looking at this now. Only 6 women got knocked out in the first round.
What's going on?
What is the point of
why have
honestly
but then it's gonna be super scary in the next couple days when it's just oh, now I have to be top 2 to make it to finals. That's gonna be sick.
But honestly, this is what it should have been now. The reason we're here in Eugene for 10 days is because we have rounds like this to knock out 6 people. Come on, this is why we can shorten the schedule.
It's kind of crazy. It's wild.
In general, we should look at some of these 3-day schedules that other countries are doing, because every other year we do 3 days. But all right, I'm just already dreading being here for 10 days.
It's only day one.
It's only day one. I'm losing it. All right, let's go over to the women's 100. Sha'Carri Richardson, 10:88, fastest time of the day with her shoelace untied.
And that stumble was, I was scared. I said, oh, she about to fall flat on her faces up. I was so scared. And then she made the comeback. I was like, oh, she gonna make the comeback, but maybe she'll run 11:0. And it said 10:88. I said, excuse me, sweetie, what do you be doing in practice? Because that is sick.
Then right behind her, Melissa Jefferson, 10:91 in a separate heat. Her fastest time since 2022.
The day Melissa Jefferson runs 10:7, y'all better not say nothing to me. Okay?
You see it coming.
Yeah, okay, because here's the thing. When I was watching her, all season, I know a lot of people were like, well, Sha'Carri's going to make the team, and Jacius and, everybody else. And it's not that people were really counting Melissa out, but they weren't really focused on her that much. And I'm I feel like she's just waiting till trials to really, really pop off something, because she had been running 11 O's or 11 1s for majority of the season, which is cool, but people weren't really focused on it. And so when I'm watching her run, I'm 10:91 and it's legal, and she looked that good. 10:7 is coming.
Yep.
The block 1-2, and then on top of that, TT Terry makes it through.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Long, who earlier today turned professional, signed with Adidas, made her
Strike
debut.
gang.
1094 to beat Aaliyah Hobbs in her heat. That was a really strong first heat, whereas
Yeah.
Mackenzie Long, Aaliyah Hobbs, Morlake Akina-sen, Solera Barnes, Abby Steiner. I'm a little concerned about Abby Steiner. I know you were also just like, she went to go get treatment immediately after, didn't stop for interviews, but like, I think I'm a little cautious.
She hasn't run as consistent. I mean, she has the talent. Clearly, like, she's here, you know, but I don't know. And considering how everyone else is running, that makes it a little more challenging for Abby.
I would hope that she could probably like make the relay pool, because I love Abby. Like, I've seen her a couple of times this year. Like,
she's so strong on the relays.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And so like up until like regionals and stuff, like her boyfriend was obviously like still running at Kentucky. So like sometimes when she would come and see him, like she would lift in the weight room with us, and I'm like, you're looking amazing. Like, I hope you're doing like really well and stuff like that. And so I asked her about her foot and stuff like a couple weeks ago, and she was like, yeah, no, everything like seems to be pretty okay. And so when she ended up pulling out of Jamaica, I was very confused. I was like, I literally just spoke to her like 3 days ago, like, is she good? What's going on? Because please don't freak me out like that. But she seemed like she had all smiles when she walked past like the content creator zone today. So I don't think like she's as stressed as like we are about her. I think that she has a lot of trust in herself and
We're
Coach
making
Hall.
a lot
But
of gut reactions.
That's true. It's true.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like we have no insight into how people have been practicing over the last couple weeks. Everyone in the sport keeps that, you know, really close and tight. Tomorrow's a day where it's sort of like we get all our answers. So we got 2 rounds of the 100 tomorrow. And again, I counted. How many people did we knock out in this one? 8. So again, another useless first round.
But what do we think? I mean, Sha'Carri slipped out the blocks.
Yeah.
Shoelace untied. What do we think is going to happen in the semis and the final tomorrow? Like, are we expecting 10-6? Are we expecting...
Here's my thing. So me and Jasmine have talked about this a couple of times, but like usually what ends up happening, but we'll see if like she's developed more from this, is like she'll run a really fast first round. She'll be okay for her, not like okay in general. Like, it'll still be fast, but it'll be an okay like time / like, you know, like form, like how she looks for her second round, and then she just absolutely pops off for the final. Sometimes it's a little slower than what she ran in her first round, but sometimes it's a little faster. But regardless, you know, I think that she's gonna run something fast, but I'm just interested to see like how she's gonna run in the semis, because it's usually like not one of her best rounds.
Yeah. I think tomorrow's going to be very interesting, because now you throw Melissa Jefferson in the mix for one of those top 3 spots, and you're left looking at this being like Sha'Carri Richardson, Melissa Jefferson, Aaliyah Hobbs, Mackenzie Long. One of these women is not going to make it in the open.
I know.
That's so
I
tough.
want Aaliyah Hobbs to make it though, because especially considering all the stuff that happened with her, like last year, like we literally went to Baton Rouge and like made a video of her, and she was literally in form and was absolutely kicking butt. Like, she broke the American record last year in the 60. And so it was really sad to see her like get out here and to USA's and not be able to make the team. I think there was like some other like personal issues going on that kind of like hindered her from really locking in. But it just like sucks, because she has so many opportunities to like really make it like as an individual, and so I'm hoping that this is the spot for her.
Make picks.
My
Top
picks,
3.
my picks are Sha'Carri, Melissa, Aaliyah.
I'm actually going the same, but I'm saying Sha'Carri, Aaliyah, Melissa. I think Aaliyah's going to finish second and Melissa gets third. It's going to be fast.
Interesting, guys.
And that's the thing, like, I think Aaliyah has a very strong chance at making top 3, because if you watch her, as long as she's out in front, like, she good. Like, if people have to chase her down, there's not too much of an issue.
Yeah.
So I think she will be fine. And here's the thing, like, we all know that Sha'Carri's like good in general, but we know that like she's a person that has to like continue to work on her starts. So if Aaliyah can beat her at the start, I don't think that she'll beat Sha'Carri, because I do think like Sha'Carri's top end speed is like miles better than like anyone else's in the field. But if Aaliyah can get out and like stay out, she only got to worry about one person chasing her down.
I'm going Sha'Carri, Aaliyah, Mackenzie.
You know, Mackenzie.
Even though Melissa ran this fast, and she's very good, I was very impressed with Mackenzie, and she's hot right now. Like, in terms of just like striking while the iron's hot, she's doing that right now.
I mean, considering the fact that like there were definitely other women who could have I want to say like easily beat Mackenzie in the 100 at NCAAs. The fact that she still pulled it off and had a huge PR, I'm like, okay, you probably could come out here and do the same thing, but not because Mackenzie know I love her, so she watching this. Don't do too much. But my thing is that I think that Mackenzie's a way stronger 200-meter runner, and so I've got her in my top 3 for that, as opposed to my top 3 for the 100.
You got to spread the love across events.
It's like you're not leaving her off the team.
I'm not leaving her off the team. I just think that like the 100 is on lock for me, and I think that she has a strong chance at making it in the 2. So.
All right, that is the women's 100. We have 2 rounds tomorrow. Fireworks definitely to come on that one. And then I think, for the most part, those were all the sprints, right?
Yeah.
400, two 400s, and then the 100. Let me really quick. I know he can't join us out here in Eugene, but we got Pauly Throws, our summer intern.
It's the way that you actually typed in Pauly Throws.
I know, and it's like his name is Paul. Paul gave us quite a bit of updates as to what happened today in the field events. Honestly, like it's hard to keep up with everything.
It is.
Big surprise came in the pole vault where American record holder Casey Lightfoot did not clear 5.
I hyped him up so much in the Forbes article, and I was like, "Damn it, Casey!"
This is crazy.
Doesn't make it to the final. He was 4th at the Tokyo Olympics. Will not get the chance to make it to the next games.
Yeah.
In the men's shot put, not a whole ton of surprises. Joe Kovacs with the farthest throw of the day, 22.13.
That dad strength.
And then, interestingly enough, the biggest storyline here was that Ryan Krauser finally opened up his season. Anderson, what did he say about just sort of like the reason why he's been out?
Yeah, so he said after World Indoors, he actually got an injury in his elbow, and then that got healed up. But then he got another injury in like his chest, like his pec. That healed up. But then he again got another injury back on his elbow. So it was like injury after injury. And he said that he got not surgery, but like an operation on his elbow to like fix it up, and he was ready like right before Prefontaine. But he didn't want to risk it, going to pre and throwing, so he just decided to open up here. There was like some hesitation in terms of like opening up. You don't get to compete, right? You're watching Joe Kovacs, kind of throwing 23 meters, scaring your world record, but he feels at least confident that he'll be able to make the team. He was saying that he was throwing some good throws in practice, but we'll see. At least he got to the final. I think that's the most important part here.
Yeah, it's like for this one, I look at the competition as like Joe's to lose because Ryan, there was I think a little bit of that injury concern, but I think Krauser's great enough that like he can make this team. Yeah. Maybe it's not about winning the trials. You buy yourself extra time to get ready for the Paris Olympics, and then really just kind of like put on a show there. Like, so another thing that Paul threw out there on Twitter was like different situation with this being his opener, but last year Krauser entered Budapest with a ton of health questions. He went one and done with a very slow and easy 21.48 in qualifying and then threw 23.51 later that day. Today, one and done, 21.44. Not saying we should necessarily be expecting something that big tomorrow, but don't entirely count it out by virtue of only 21.44 today. So that is your big throws update from Paul Hoff-Mahoney. But then in addition to that, he gave us an update on the standings of the decathlon. Keith Baldwin from Michigan State is leading after day one with 4,508 points. He's got the Olympic standard. He didn't compete at NCAAs, so he's in the top 3 right now. Zach Zemek and Kyle Garland, also the 3 guys at the Olympic standard. Pretty ahead of Harrison Williams, who's all the way back in 7th right now, so he might need a strong second day to crack that top 3 and go to the games. But the decathlon competition is shaping up to also be a good one. Women's triple jump first round, and no major surprises, right?
No surprises. I mean, everything is going through. I think the only surprise, you have Couture Orgy, Tori Franklin, Jasmine Moore. Those are the only 3 with the standard. The only surprise is Couture Orgy is retiring after this year. This is her final year.
She's leaving us, and that's not even fair.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And she's like probably the greatest American triple jumper on the women's side. So But yeah, she's ending her career, so it'll be sad to kind of see her go out tomorrow.
So she has the standard?
She has a standard, Tori has a standard, and Jasmine has a standard. Unfortunately, no one else is going to be able to get the standard. Like, those three are set going to Paris.
That's the team.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, am I missing anything else? Men's javelin throw first round. No big surprises there. I think that's it. That does it for day one. 1 day down, 9 more to go. CITIUS MAG is live here in Eugene, Oregon, bringing you all the action. Tomorrow morning, we're back live, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. Good morning, track and field. If you haven't had a chance to go back and watch that episode, with lots of laughs, lots of jokes. We're going to be here all week. So if you are in Eugene, if you're coming out to Eugene, join us at Prince Puckler's Ice Cream on 19th and at Agate. We're going to have group runs on day 3, day 6, day 9. But for now, tons of content. You're listening to Trials Talk. Many interviews on the CITIUS MAG YouTube channel because we got myself, Caitlin, Anderson, and Mitch gathering all of those interviews for you guys. Subscribe to the CITIUS MAG newsletter for a daily recap of everything. If you are just like, I just want the best content from the day, I don't have the time to go through every single thing, David Melly will be rounding all of that up. So you can subscribe at citiusmag.beehive. I think that's what it is, .com, I think. But anyway, go to citiusmag.com, hit the newsletters tab, and you can sign up there. So a lot of plugs just made. I'm ready to get myself into a big bowl of mint chalky chip ice cream.
Right
That's
downstairs.
what I need from day one. So signing off, day one of the U.S. Olympic trials in the books. Chris Chavez, Caitlin Hutchison, Anderson Emerald. We will see you tomorrow because what? I love track and field.
Do you love track and field?
I love track and field.
I'm obsessed with track and field.
I love it so much.
All right.